So this is Louis, and for today I'm going to be talking about illegal immigrants and generally what's going on currently and my issue with the topic overall, because I understand that some people don't really have much of an opinion on this, and back in the day I can say that when I was more left-leaning, I didn't really care much about immigration, and even when I was a conservative in high school, I didn't really care much about it either, and it's because I didn't really take it very seriously as a legal question, a morality question, and more importantly, an economic question. And I think that as time has gone on, my concern has grown and grown with the issue of immigration. But even practically, let's say, just starting out, I can't imagine in my life going to another nation, like, let's just say Canada, not even like far away France or somewhere different where I don't speak the language. Let's just take Canada. It makes no sense to me to go to Canada, move to Canada illegally, whether that's just getting in somehow or overstaying a visa, living there, getting into relationships there, working there, all illegally, to the degree where you have to get forged documents, which is why, in my view, Cuomo in New York has just passed. You have to blame the legislators for doing this, but he just signed off on it. But in the end, he is the governor, and he signed off on this, where now New York State is going to be probably for free providing licenses to illegals. And in my view, the reason for this is to help them evade law enforcement, because it's a lot easier, from what I know, to catch people forging documents than it is to actually figure out one way or another whether they're legal or illegal. In my investigations of people, sometimes you'll have people come back with no social security numbers, and that's usually a big red flag that they're an illegal. But sometimes it's not 100% certain that that person is illegal. I have had cases where the person has lived in New York their entire life, and I can tell that by looking at their data, and they don't come back with a social security, and it's usually because of a name issue. They've gotten married, they've had aliases, stuff like that, and it makes it harder to track back what their actual identity is. And or if they changed their name, for instance, and then they got married or something like that, it makes it difficult to actually track back who they are. And sometimes if you look them up, they won't come back with a social. However, mainly when I do investigations, they don't come back with a social, and I've confirmed this with case managers. They are, in fact, an illegal. I've already had people ask me why any insurance company would ever pay for an illegal, like why they'd pay their claim when they could just deport them. I'm not actually sure, but I'm sure it probably is a law where they're compelled by law that they have to pay the claim, even if they are illegal. But, if I was the king, in essence, I would pass a law where any business that, whether they had a contract or anything through a person, if they are aware or had suspicion that the person was illegal, here illegally, they would have to be compelled by law, if not facing a fine of, let's say, $1 million for having to report that person and their status. I think it should be in the law that if you are aware of someone engaging in a crime and you are a company employing them or giving them money, especially with New York State, how many fucking tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars that are paid out in disability claims, they should be compelled by law to report that to the government. And I don't give a shit whether that's some overstepping of, the federal government in states, but fuck you, supremacy clause. It's amazing to me that this is something that goes on, where my money is being divvied out to fucking illegals to take fake disability claims. I've gone to the middle of nowhere, New York, to investigate illegals that work on farms, that are somehow drawing frickin' benefits from the state for fake insurance claims that New York State is also paying me to investigate, and they're here illegally all the whole time. It's just a joke. And what Cuomo is doing with this law is making it a lot easier for these people to evade federal law enforcement, and even private investigators. So at the same time, while New York State is paying me to investigate illegals, New York State is also making it easier for them to evade both capture and deportation, but also investigation for their illegal activity by the police and by me. So I forgot about this, and I'm going to have to put this at the beginning of the commentary just so it makes sense. But I saw this the other day where there were leaks within the Department of Homeland Security about a bunch of ICE raids that were going to happen this weekend. I believe it was supposed to happen on Sunday, and they were delayed because of this. So people within the government leaked all of the locations and the the cities, and they basically leaked that there were going to be raids, where they were, and the specifics of what day. The problem is that you're dealing with criminals here. Whether you take this seriously or not, these people are criminals. And the fact is that what you're basically doing is going to a criminal and tipping them off that cops are coming. And that to me is just like, okay, why don't you just hand them the rifle in the bullets, the rounds, the box of rounds? Why don't you just hand them the means by which to murder police officers and to murder federal agents? Why don't you just hand them the rifle and the rounds? Because goddamn, this is why you don't tip off, criminals when they're about to be raided by law enforcement. I mean, there was this horrific shooting that happened the other day. I'll try to look that up, where some cops just walk up, hello, you're not in trouble, we're here to talk, and he just blows all these cops away. He killed one cop, one female officer, and I think he shot a couple more, and I have to imagine that guy knew they were coming. He was ready for him, and he fucking shot at them and killed one officer.
Hey, Adele Police Department. Adele Police Department, you're not under arrest, you're not in trouble. Adele Police Department, if you're in here, let me know. You're not in trouble, dude. This is a high-powered rifle. Get out here now. Cover, we got one down. Code 3 fire, move him in. Officer down, code 3 fire. High-powered rifle.
When you are tipping off criminals, this is what you're doing. You're allowing them to prepare, whether that's to evade them or to directly confront them. You got to be out of your fucking mind to do this. To tip off criminals to law enforcement about to, raid them. You gotta be crazy! But yeah, I swear to God, man, if there isn't some kind of law against this kind of conduct, there really should be. Because you are, in essence, creating a significant chance that a criminal who's currently unprepared is now prepared for a raid by law enforcement to arrest them. To take them into custody for breaking the fucking law. It's amazing to me. I can't imagine what the fuck is going through your mind as you do this. There's only two reactions. It's flee or confront. And it's amazing to me that, confrontations with police happen all the goddamn time. I've seen so many body cam videos online of people that just say, okay, I guess I'm taking on the cops, and they just open fire. Bystanders get shot and killed, the cops get shot and killed. This happens all the fucking time.
Shots fired. You shoot it through the door. Get back, come on. Hold on to me. Hold on. we got one hit. One hit. Come on, Danny. Get back. Get back, Danny. Danny, crawl. Crawl. Come on, Danny, you got it. Crawl.
Can I look around to make sure? All right. Wait right there. Don't move, okay?
No tengo problemas.
Roll it down. Roll down the window. Roll down the window.
Ahí está.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
So I'm going to splice this in. It's going to be a quick jump, and you're not going to notice because, you're just looking at a still image. So the morality question, and I'm sort of jumping around in this, but that's what you get with unscripted videos. The morality question is, it's incredibly easy to go through your life without being arrested, without committing crime, without engaging in illegal activities. I mean, the worst I've ever done, and I still do, is speed. And that is me putting my own life at risk and, the life of others when the statistics around, traffic accidents and traffic fatalities are incredibly high. They are insanely high. If I remember right, it's the easiest way to die in an accident in the United States. It has the highest statistics around accidents, if I recall correctly. And so there's a reason why we have traffic laws, and it's because when you're driving a 5,000-pound bullet, or however much they weigh, the vehicles weigh, several-ton bullet, you are putting your own life at risk, and you're putting the lives of others that are on the road at risk, or others that are just passerbys walking on the sidewalk. You're putting a lot of people's lives at risk when you're driving recklessly, and that's why I agree that driving should not be a right. Driving is a privilege, and it should remain a privilege, because it's dangerous. You're putting other people's lives at risk, and a lot of people, including myself to some degree, drive recklessly while we're on the road. And I think that because of the amount of fatalities, the amount of accidents and injuries, it is important that we take driving seriously and keep it as it is with the state giving you a license. Because even though I just paid fucking whatever it was, like $70, $90, I don't even know, to renew my license and bump it up to enhanced, I'd rather have it be that way where I'm paying, the DMV to be awful than it is where we're just allowing anybody to get behind the wheel and potentially murder a bunch of people. The morality question, though, is with aiding and abetting people engaging in illegal activity that puts others at risk. I do not trust the government to actually vet these people. I am convinced that through all the different non-for-profit groups and activist organizations, that the government is going to be working with those groups to provide illegals free licenses. Because it would just be part and parcel of everything else that we have seen in Democrat-controlled states. Because it goes along with what New York State has also done with providing free legal services for illegals, which I can show you an article about. It makes sense to me that even though there might not be anything yet that says that New York State is cooperating with activist organizations to get illegals documents so that they can evade law enforcement, I believe this to be happening. And I think it's because Cuomo, who I believe to be in the position now where he can be defeated. I think if the New York State Republican Party could get their collective heads out of their asses, they would win the next election. I think he's weak enough at this point that he can be defeated, where it puts a Republican in a good enough position where they can actually win an election in what is otherwise a very, very blue state. I do believe he has finally stepped beyond the point where enough centrists and people will pull the lever for him, but also where enough Republicans who may have not voted or voted third party, such as I did in the last election. And there was a good candidate the last time with the Libertarian Party. But this time around, I think that even if the Republican they come up with for the gubernatorial race is just this generic corporate downstate faggot, for lack of a better way of putting it. Very clean-cut, proper, boring plastic man that they can find from downstate New York and the richest counties in the frickin' state. Even if they put forward someone like that, I might have to vote for him just to, and it will be him, because it always is. Very clean-cut, upper-middle-class Italians. I have to vote for them over Cuomo because he's just gone too far. It's very clear that the priorities of the New York State Democrats is just to promote illegals at the direct cost of New York State residents. And this is them, as a party and as people that are elected officials, aiding and abetting illegal behavior. Circling back to my example of going into Canada, I just can't imagine myself going into a foreign nation, even if I speak the same language, and living there as an illegal. I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine spending the extent of my life being illegal in a foreign nation of which I'm not a citizen. I have no legal status for being there. And I'm trying to work. I'm trying to create a life there. It's why wouldn't you do that legally? I'm a good, upstanding person. I'm trying to start a family and work a job. Okay, why don't you just go there legally? Why? I just don't understand it. I do not understand what is compelling you to do that. Outside of personal benefit, you're directly benefiting from it. And I really think that, in my view, whenever you have one of these people that are crying or they're complaining, oh, I'm getting deported, I've been here 40 years, like that one Korean guy. I've been here 40 years, and I'm here illegally, and I'm getting sent back to Korea, and I don't even speak Korean. It's yeah, you've had 40 years to get legal status, and you chose not to. You chose to go against the law. You chose to ignore law enforcement. You chose to allow illegal behavior to be something that you're not concerned with as someone that you're trying to draw my sympathy. I'm sorry, I'm a person that actually has character, that actually has integrity. I've spent my entire life abiding by the law and expecting others to do so as well. And you just sitting there saying, well, fuck the law, I'm special, I deserve all the benefits and none of the responsibilities of living in the United States illegally. Fuck you. Get the hell out of here. Do I have to go find the tortilla guy and play that video?
I fucking made my tortilla, motherfucker, and build that fucking wall for me! Trump! I love Trump! Fuck you! I love my country! Yeah!
If you can't abide by the law in a country that is not your own, get the hell out of it. And that should be the expectation for anybody. Whether it's me going to Japan or Canada or the UK or anywhere, if you can't abide by the law, get the hell out of that country. It's not proper. It shows a total lack of integrity and character of that person to go to a foreign nation and have the expectation that they can just act in whatever manner they want to, damn the law, and that's somehow acceptable. No, I'm sorry, that is a selfish, narcissistic, and completely ridiculous assumption to make. Those are ridiculous expectations to have, to where you're going to go into a foreign nation, think you're going to start a life, and spend that entire life going against the law, being a goddamn outlaw. What do you think that this is the 1800s? I mean, do you think you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2? Do you think this is like the 17 or 1800s where you can live as an outlaw in the wilderness? It's no, half you people are living in urban areas, or, if you're Mexican, you're living in rural New York or in rural areas working on farms and that sort of thing. You really think that the law is eventually not going to catch up with you? You think you're going to spend your entire life living outside the law and the information age where, billions and billions of dollars are being funneled in law enforcement and investigation? You think you're not eventually going to be caught? And the thing that I fear is companies like Google, which there was a new Project Veritas video exposing them for biasing their search results and other internal bias within the corporation. It's basically acting as a fascist corporation. And I say that literally by the definition. They're acting as an ethical corporation. So, yeah, they are pretty fascistic in nature. But the issue is, like, what happens when Google starts working against law enforcement? What happens when the largest corporations in the world start acting ethically in their own mind and against that of law enforcement? What happens when that starts? Because I imagine that's right around the fucking corner. Because if you look at the activist organizations, that's what they do every waking moment of the day, is they act against the man, the law, the courts. They're constantly attempting to defend the criminals from their own conduct, their own choices, their own lack of morality. It's a problem in this country. And I can tell you that even as somebody that doesn't have law enforcement in my family, like no one in my family that I'm aware of outside of like the children of my godparents, like, you know, which aren't family, you know, they are in law enforcement, but like outside of some random tacit connections to myself and my family, no one in my family is involved in law enforcement. But I can tell you right here and now that I sympathize with them and the thankless position they're in to actually be the ones enforcing the goddamn law in a society, in an age where wanted abandon of the law is just commonplace. And not only that, but endorsed by corporations, the largest ones in the world, the most powerful corporations in the world, and entire states and their entire bodies of government, endorsing outlaw behavior. It's a miserable time, I have to imagine, to be someone in the field of law enforcement. I know that I have some tacit connection with being in private investigation, but in my view, that is in no way what motivates this video, my opinion. I mean, I have certain viewpoints on disability and insurance claims because of my job, but in terms of enforcing the law and obeying the law, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the fact that that is what is moral to do, even if you disagree with the law. And in many instances, even in New York, I disagree with the fireworks ban, the tobacco taxes, with the gun control. There are plenty of laws in New York State that I don't agree with, and I think are unconstitutional or ridiculous and are unenforceable, etc., or just plain immoral laws. But the fact is, I still obey them. Because I actually adhere to the fact that if you want to live in any kind of functional society, if you actually want to live among other people, live in a community of people in which it's actually decent and moral, you have to obey the law regardless of whether you agree with them or not. And if you disagree with them, work within the system that already exists to change the law to, in fact, change the law. It is incredibly easy, as far as I'm aware, to make connections with people in parties or people already in politics or are connected to people in politics. Work with them, run yourself, find somebody to run, get them in power, have them write laws or change the laws, have some lawyer draft the law for you in exchange for money, and then submit that law, rally people that are already in politics, legislators to sign that law, back that law, send it to the governor to pass that law, change the goddamn law. That way you're actually living in a system or in a society in which you agree with the laws in place. The systems that are necessary for that to happen exist already, and what I can't stand is that they are currently being hijacked by massive corporations, activists, and cynical politicians that want voting farms to create ridiculous, unconstitutional, and immoral laws to benefit themselves and to make our country clown world. There is no defense for this. There is no defense for what is going on in the state, for what's going on in this country. If you are here illegally, I don't give a fuck what your sob story is. I don't care. Oh, you came from a bad country. Oh, you had a bad upbringing. Oh, you were running in terror from the consequences of your society's own actions in your own country. So you ran away from your own country and you came here illegally. I'm sorry, but you have no right to be here. I'm not kicking down the door of your country and doing whatever the fuck I please. There's no excuse for you living as a goddamn outlaw in this country. There's no excuse. There is none. if you're an asylum seeker, or if you're an immigrant, or whatever it is you are, for whatever reason you came here, there are legal avenues for you to come here. God damn it, I just turned on my Xbox. And the fact is that in the United States, we already accept well over 1 million immigrants a year, legal. Well over 1 million a year. That isn't enough. That isn't enough for you to get here legally. And the fact is, there's probably a reason why you're not coming here legally. There's probably a reason. Because the people that I've investigated that are here illegally, they're fucking scumbags. They're coming here to take advantage of our benefits. They're taking advantage of our stupid country with our stupid laws. We're bringing in cunning people that, and I say we, by allowing this and encouraging it by trying to help them skirt around the law, get around federal law enforcement and immigration control. We are directly attempting to help these people evade the law. And it's for a variety of reasons, but they have no excuses. I don't care what your excuses are. There are no excuses for not abiding by the law. And I think, and I've yet to do a video on this, but I'd really like to, where I explain the fact that you can't have a nation that have people within it that are so polarized that they literally have nothing in common. Their values are so separate that they are, what's called in divorce court, irreconcilable differences. You can't live in a society where you have two factions like that. It leads to what becomes a civil war. And unlike Tim Pool, who's just going to sit there and go, well, the Civil War is coming, guys. I think there are actual practical solutions to that issue. And I think it is basically buying people out so that they leave the country. They revoke their own citizenship, renounce it, and they leave, and they don't come back.
If you don't like America, then you can get out.
And I think that I'm not that clever to come up with that idea, to buy people out, to have them leave. But I do think that in the future, we are going to have to start coming up with programs like that and enacting those kind of programs to buy out the people that would vote in favor of politicians doing this. Aiding and abetting people from breaking the law, regardless of what the law is. I don't care what the law is. Even if it's like gun control or something you think you have a constitutional right to. There are legal avenues for you to challenge those laws. Whether it's replacing them, bringing them to court, whatever. There are avenues by which you can challenge the law. There's no excuse for acting in a legal way. There's no excuse. If you expect anyone else to obey the law, you should obey the law yourself. And as such, I really think that what it's going to come down to is not just deportations and what Trump is doing. It's going to require us, those of us that actually adhere to the law and give a damn about it, actually have some kind of character, some kind of integrity. It's going to require us to get engaged in politics, to come up with methods by which we can highly incentivize those that would create laws to help illegals and to do other things to get around the law and that sort of thing. To incentivize those people who we have nothing in common with because they have no integrity, they have no character, they are doing everything in their power to undermine the law and law enforcement. We are going to have to try to come up with means by which to have those people, to incentivize them to get out. Get out!
Hey, all you un-American bastards! If you don't like America, why don't you get out?
Get out of this country. Go over to Europe. Go wherever you want to. Go to the third world because it's apparently so nice. Get out of this goddamn country. Because I can't imagine even what kind of country that would want you as you disregard the law, as you flaunt the law, as you create programs, taxpayer-funded programs to undermine the law, to undermine the courts, to undermine the legal system, to undermine everything that holds society together. And in my fucking view, the foundation of society is order. Without order, without laws, without courts, without enforcement, everything else is just a bourgeois social norm. It is just a bourgeois concept. Everything else. Without the law, without the courts, without the systems in place, the cohesion, the foundation, without it, everything else is just a bourgeois concept. Everything else is just conceptual. It is just a fantasy for middle-class faggots to desire. Everything else, civil liberties, my rights, blah, 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 everything else that you can come up with. Without order, there is nothing. It is the foundation that everything else is built upon. And when you skirt the law, when you break the law, when you create systems to undermine the law, you are ripping apart the foundation in which everything else is built on. The people that are utopian or that are so self-interested that they don't care, we have to create the means. We have to create the incentive for those people to get out, along with the illegals. Because so long as we have people in this country that abide by breaking the goddamn law, we are going to live in a dysfunctional society. We are going to live in a society where everyone sees the law as a goddamn joke. People see the courts as a joke. People see the government as a joke. It's clown world. Everything is inverse where the state is helping the illegals and fucking the citizens. You know, we can't live in that because violence is inevitable in that system. Violence is inevitable when you live in fucking clown world. In a functional society, communication, debate, discussion, politics, that is the solution. And politics, in my view, is the solution currently. Politicking is the solution. But what it requires us is to get involved, to vote, to be registered, to spread the message and talk to people about this issue and to push this issue, to talk about the issue of not just illegal immigration or you know, what's going on in New York or elsewhere in the country, but specifically the moral basics of why it is important to obey the law, to stand shoulder to shoulder with those that are actually attempting to enforce the law and not attempting to undermine it. There's corruption, there's flaws, there's whatever. Like there is in every goddamn system that there's ever been. But the fact is, I'd rather have the system as it is than to have no system. To have fucking anarchy. Because in anarchy, there is no other option but violence. And I'm sorry, but I'd rather live in a civilized society than one where it's basically, you know, might makes right. Whoever holds the gun, they're the ones that basically say what are the rules. That isn't any kind, that sounds like the fucking third world to me. And I'd rather not live there. Because I can't afford to live in that kind of society. I can't afford to live in a third world. Because I'd rather live in a country where I just pay some measly taxes and have the laws fucking enforced than in one where I have to basically hire my own court, hire my own police force. So I'm not dead or deprived of my life, liberty, and property, to put it more poetically. The long and short of this issue is that I have quite had about enough of the excuse-making and the lack of conviction from so many people on the topic. I know that there's plenty on the right that very much take this issue seriously, but not in politics, it seems. I have yet to really hear a proper dressing down from a Republican politician regarding this issue to their opponent to say that it isn't just the matter of illegal versus legal, or they're dreamers, or they just want a better life, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't give a shit if they want a better life. I don't care. I don't care if they have a fucking family. Oh, their kid's sick. Oh, they're in a cage. Why did you come here? Why did you come here illegally? There are so many avenues by which you can come here legally. Why did you come here legally? I have no sympathy for you. I don't expect to go to any other country and act as an outlaw. Why do you have that expectation for us? Because we're a wealthy nation? Well, I can guarantee you this. We didn't become a wealthy first world nation by not adhering to the goddamn law. And so many third world nations, the law is a joke. Police forces are corrupt. The courts are corrupt. The government's corrupt. And those governments and those societies anguish in poverty and corruption and just the status of being third world, not a developed nation, not a first world nation especially. They languish in that status. And the reason why Canada, the United States, the UK, all the Western nations, why we're so desirable is because we take the law seriously. We adhere to it as societies. At least we once fucking did. We actually despised and loathed and looked down upon properly outlaws. We look down on them. But apparently, we live in a day and age where they're the fucking heroes. They're the ones that I have to have fucking sympathy towards. Well, in fact, I don't. Okay, so I'll end it here because now I'm going to have to... I've already created a chore for myself to have to edit this now even more. But yeah, you can feel free to comment below about this. But yeah, I really have to say that it's really an issue with not just the criminals in our country, but the fucking people that are just like, oh, I'm sympathetic to you, criminal. Fuck the law and fuck law-abiding citizens. Here's the rifle, here's the rounds. Go fucking kill some feds. We got those people in our country, and they need to get out. And we need to properly incentivize them to leave. That needs to happen at some point. Because if we don't, eventually this society of ours is just going to fall the fuck apart. It will. I'm not saying like Tim Pool, oh man, it's around the fucking corner, guys. Subscribe to me on Subscribestar. Keep clicking the links. It's just a matter of eventually this is all going to fall apart. Eventually this is all going to fall apart. Because if the law is a joke, and law enforcement is a joke, then what comes from that? Nothing good, I imagine. What happens when not just, the police are on strike, but when no one takes the law seriously? What happens? Look at the cities that have had police strikes, and there's a fucking example. That's what's gonna happen, but just nationwide. This is serious, and it's about time that people take it seriously. So I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening.